Wajah replied, "You don't need to hide from that. I enjoy the music your teeth make, and my teeth too." Hussein tried to remember a song he sang, to forget the tales of the orcs, and to start with silence and the fear of darkness. Before he opened his mouth with a word, he heard the two boys howling. Wajih paused and said in a fearful voice, "This is a howl of guilt. There is nothing left but this." Prophet Hussein, everything related to the song, extended his hand, and grabbed the arm of his friend, encouraging him to continue walking while saying, "Close. The howl is so far away. Between us and the environment is more than an hour." Wajih said, "The wolves come to drink from the canal." And at that moment, another howl rose, much closer than the first. Here Hussein also stopped, and began to listen, and the howl rose again and increased. Hussein tightened his grip on Wajih's arm, and silence gathered them together, and without the two friends uttering a single letter, they began to retreat, as if their retreat would keep them away from the ferocious animals. When Hussein remembered the paper and matches that he had, he recovered himself. He took it out of his pocket, folded a piece of paper, and put his hand on it until it was like a candle. Then he lit it, lighting the way around them. The howling of the wolves stopped, but the two friends heard a sound as if the dingoes were grazing. "To disappear among the scattered tombs," Hussein said. "Animals are afraid of fire, and goblins are also, so I brought. I have paper and sulfur. Here is a good whisper in a branch. To come back. The wolves are blocking our way." But Hussein did not share Wajih's dismay, and he said skeptically, and he remembered the situation. His mom, "It's strange that wolves come so early. My dad says they don't come to drink. Only near dawn." Then he was silent for a moment, thinking, so Wajah asked him, "Why did you keep quiet?" Hussein said, "I also remembered that the wolves, when they descend from the mountain, never cross the canal to this right side on which we are walking, so how did we hear their voice, as if they were disappearing from the fire between the tombs?" And the burning paper snapped, so Hussein heard something else, and his reputation softened. Then Wajih asked, "Did you hear?" Wahi answered, "No, I did not hear anything." "What did you hear?" Hussein whispered, "Something like laughter." Wajih rushed out and said in panic, "Laughter? Are you saying laughter? Let's go back. To come back before my pants got wet." Hussein said, "Why did you double your fear in this way?" Wajih replied, "The sound of a hyena is like laughter. There is a hyena on our way." With confidence, Hussein said, "No, I don't think it was a hyena's laugh." Then she described. For a moment, he added in a whispering voice, "There is something strange going on around us. I think someone is trying to imitate the sound of the hyena to make you afraid." Wajih asked, "What's on your mind?" Hussein answered in a faint whisper, "Perhaps someone wants us to get away from this path. Let's pretend that we are. We'll go back to Sharona." Wajih asked in astonishment, "Are we pretending?" Hussein did not respond to a valid question, but said in a loud and audible voice, in a clear, resonant tone, "The wolves cut the way. Let's go back. Be to quickly return to Sharona." Hussein grabbed Wajih's hand, and his grandfathers were with him, and they changed direction and walked quickly. On the way back, Wajih tried to speak, but Hussein silenced him until they had traveled a great distance. When Hussein stopped, and his friend stopped with him, Hussein leaned on Wajih's ear and whispered, "We will go back now and head as we were to Sheikh Fadl's village. But make sure that no sound comes from you. Not a word, not a determination. And make sure that your feet do not collide with anything. The darkness will ensure that we are completely hidden." Wajih tried to inquire about the meaning of Hussein's actions, but Hussein calmed him down and said, maybe I have delusions, and I may be right in what I think. Try to implement what I asked of you, and you will quickly verify the result. In a heavy roar, the two friends returned to the village of Sheikh Fatal. They are hidden by anxiety, fear and darkness. And they went through the area of the road adjacent to the tombs, without hearing the howling of wolves again, nor the sound of the laughter trying to imitate the howling of hyenas. In the front row of tombs, on the edge of the road, the black mass of the building above the tomb of Sheikh Darwish appeared. The building was a small room, with one door and one window closed to the always. Despite the dread that the two friends felt while sneaking around the cemetery area, which they heard that the goblins used to meet with the people of the village there, they continued on their walk, encouraging them to move forward. The sounds of wolves and hyenas stopped, and the two friends were careful not to make any sound. Suddenly Hussein grabbed a good arm and stopped him from walking. This time real fear brought them together. Wiji heard what Hussein heard, human voices speaking in a whisper. Fear paralyzed the two friends, all of their senses concentrated in their ears. The sounds were coming from the side of the room above the sheikh's tomb. And the two friends heard the thief's voice again. The first voice was saying, "The people of the village will not imagine that we can return to them in a new adventure on the same night. The caution will abandon them completely for the rest of this night." Hussein returned pressure on his arm, and a shiver went through his body. The second voice said, "Have you seen the grocers?" The first voice said, "I have seen everything. The people of the village have been awake a lot tonight, and before dawn they fall into a heavy sleep. No one will pay attention to us, but you must first hide what we got of gold, before we return to the village." The second voice answered, "Do you think I am waiting for your sister? I hid it. This Sheikh Darwish cemetery is an excellent place to hide everything. But it seems that the outcome of tonight you have forgotten about our dinner." The first voice said, "I'll sneak up to Sharona to hear the news and get the food." The thief got ready to get out of the cemetery building, so the two friends quickly crumpled on the ground, and they were completely stuck to the wall, and they became as if they were pieces of mud. Black earth. When the two friends made sure that the thief was away, Hussein returned to pull his friend Wajia's arm, and they headed in the same calm to complete their way to Sheikh Fatal. After they had gone far enough, Wajia whispered, "I didn't recognize them by their voice." Hussein said, "It was too dark to allow me to discern the features of those who went out, but we will not let them rob the grocery store. And we will know who is the insomniac." Wiji said, "But now we are on our way to Sheikh Fatal. How will you prevent the robbery that will happen after hours in Sharona?" Hussein said, "We will return to our village long before dawn, but we must hurry now to Sheikh Fatal's village, to save my mother." The two friends reached the village of Sheikh Fatal before midnight and found her asleep, and they went from road to road, but they did not meet a single person asking him from the doctor's house. Finally, they saw an open door, full of light, and it turned out that it was the choice of the village. The two friends entered and found two workers kneading flour. Wajia said, "Peace be upon you. She is sick and he must see her. The good man as soon as possible." The worker turned to his colleague and said, "Can I leave you for a moment, so that I can get to the house?" "Doctor?" The other replied in welcome. "If there was someone else there, I would have gone. Also with you." The three met the doctor as he entered his house, after returning from the birth process, which forced him to sleep that night in the village of Sheikh Fatal. The doctor realized what Hussein had said, how bad his mother's condition was, so he sought permission from the two boys for a few moments, during which time he took what he would need of tools and medicine, then put them in his car and take them down the narrow path. to Sharona. The car was traveling slowly, its floodlights dispelling the darkness. Finally I got to Sharona. At Hussein's house, the doctor started giving the mother the necessary first aid, touching her that everything would be fine. He said, "I will stay by your side until the danger will not go away. They are valid for Hussein. Let's go to the mayor's house." And quietly, the two friends crept through the paths and roads of the village, until they arrived among the mayor. The lights had been extinguished in the hostess, and silence prevailed in the wide house after the people of the village dispersed, and each one returned to his home.